Good evening. All right, guys, we're just starting as usual. Sit on the floor. You're going to lengthen your spine as you inhale and sink down into the mat as you exhale. So let's start with inhaling up, lengthening that spine. You can sit however you want as long as your spine is nice and neutral, so it's just going straight up and down. So if you want to sit in like a straddle stance, or if you want to cross your legs, or if you want to grab a pillow and sit on top of a pillow so it's more comfortable, you do that. So whatever works for you. I want you to just close your eyes, rest your hands on whatever position your legs are in. Inhale, lengthen that spine, so always lift those shoulders, lengthen your whole back, lifting your torso up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, everything compresses down and my weight is going into my hips. So I'm inhaling up and lengthen. Nice big inhale through the nose. Exhale out the lips. Inhale up. Exhale down. You can go with the same 2-4 ratio that I do in pretty much all of my classes, or you can, focus on something like 3-second inhale and 3-second exhale. Just make it an equal ratio. It's up to you. Whatever feels good right now. Really, I just want you to shake off the day, the weekend, last week, whatever is on your mind as you're inhaling and exhaling. I want you to try to let it go and just focus on your breathing, and that's it. Up and down. Breathe nice and steady. I always almost exaggerate my shoulders scrunching up towards my neck, so as I'm exhaling and drawing my spine down, my shoulders really drop. It's almost more of a mental thing than a physical thing. It just feels like the weight on my shoulders is dropping. Literally, very, very literal and straightforward. Up and down. Breathe. One more. Up. Exhale, put your left hand on the ground. It's just going to be right next to you. Again, you can be seated anyway. So if your legs are not crossed, and let's say you're in like a straddle pose, you're going to do the exact same thing. It doesn't matter because you're going to lean to the left. So take your right hand, lengthen it up. So I'm not just curving it over. I'm actually, once I get to a nice straight line, I'm pulling. You can see my lat, which is this big muscle in your back right here, going into your obliques and down your whole side. You're stretching out your rib cage, your lats, your serratus muscles in between your rib cage. Stretch them out, so it's like you're reaching, like you're grabbing somebody's hand and they're pulling you up. Then start to curve it around. Now you can take this left hand and you can go all the way out here. You can go as far as you want and make the curve more intense. You can also even come down onto your forearms and really stretch it out. Breathe. Adjust your position as you're seated too, so whatever feels comfortable. So even if you are in a straddle pose or your feet are crossed like mine, if it doesn't feel comfortable, just adjust and change your position. Same thing over here. Right hand is now going to come down. I'm stretching and I'm lengthening that serratus, that lat, my obliques. Again, like I'm grabbing somebody's hand and they're pulling me up. Then I'm going to curve. I'm going to come down onto my forearm on this side. Deep breathing. Long stretch. Go ahead and come up, go right onto the other side, same thing. I'm going to go right onto my forearm though because I'm already warmed up. Lengthening out that arm, stretching, breathe. And the other side again. We're going to do this later on in a different pose where our legs are going to be in a different position, but one of my favorite side body stretches, anything where I could just really reach, lengthening out those side muscles. Breathe, come forward. You're going to grab your hands behind your back, so you're just holding your hands like this, clasping them behind your back. And if if you're already tight in this position or the straddle position, then definitely grab a pillow and just put it underneath you to lift your hips off the ground, because we're going to be hinging forward, and it's really important that as you're doing this, if you have like really tight hips, you might just round your back, and it makes you feel like you're bending, but you're really not, because you want to hinge from your hips and have a nice upright back. Your chest is nice and open. You don't want to be doing this. This is a false stretch. It's like when you try to reach for your toes and you round your back so you can get a false sense of being able to reach them when you actually are having not the best and healthiest form. So that's the same thing with anything that we do seated. So our hands are going to be behind our back, and that's going to make sure our chest stays open. We're going to hinge from those hips, just like I was saying. So again, if you're feeling tight, you're already rounding, grab that pillow and put it underneath you to help. You're leaning forward, hinging from those hips. Breathe. Come back up. Hold down your tailbone, so towards the ground. You should feel a pull in these muscles coming out from your neck, your traps. Breathe. Exhale forward, hinging from the hips again. And up, pulling down that spine. Deep breathing. Hinging one more time forward. Breathe. And come up, pulling down that spine once again. All right, now we are going to go into a straddle pose. So we're going to just take our legs out nice and wide. You don't have to be doing the splits right now. They don't have to be like super wide. Just as long as you feel comfortable. And here, if you have really tight hamstrings, bend those knees a little bit so they're not flat on the ground. Also, use a pillow, again, underneath your hips that you can sit on. That helps to alleviate some of that intense stretch. Because a good rule of thumb is if you can't sit straight up like I am while doing these, then you're not going to be able to stretch forward without rounding your back. So if you can't comfortably sit up or you have to lean back because you're so tight, then adjust. Knees bent, pillow underneath your hips, maybe both of those together, it just depends. We're going to act like we're stirring a really big pot. Imagine it's not summertime and super hot outside, but it's fall and it's a big pot of whatever you want it to be. But you're going to stir around. So you're coming back, and I am going to lean back away. So I'm not upright anymore. I'm leaning back towards my wall, and then I'm coming forward as far as I can. We are going to do some direct hamstring stretching later on in class. We want to make sure our hamstrings are nice and warmed up before we jump into anything that's too intense. Round and round. I'm definitely thinking of Halloween right now. Stirring the pot. Round and round. Breathe. Now obviously I'm rounding my back a little bit as I come forward, and that's okay. I just don't want to be like hunched over trying to round. I'm still lengthening my spine, lengthening my back, even if I am rounding it a little bit as I come forward. Now switch directions if you haven't already. Breathe. Round and round. Breathing, breathing. One more. Good. Coming up, we're going to now rotate onto all fours. So go ahead and come onto all fours. We're going to go into a down dog and really kind of stretch out our hamstrings. So when you come into down dog, something that I want you to really note is what your hips are doing. And if you've taken any of my classes before, this is like a broken record. You've heard me say it so many times. But as you come into down dog, this is what it looks like to tuck your tailbone. And I don't want you to do this in down dog. This is what you should do, is untuck your tailbone. So right now I'll have a curve in my back. But when I'm in down dog and I do this same motion where I'm untucking my tailbone, then I'm going to have a straight back in down dog, and that's what we want. Okay, so no tucking your tailbone, rounding your back as you do it. We could do a couple here. Let's just get used to the motion. Tucking, untucking. This is cat-cow, right? This is into the full one because we're not fully stretching, but let's add a few in just for fun so you can see it. Tuck it in, and then untuck. One more in, and out. Now we're gonna roll onto our toes and push back into down dog. So while I'm in down dog, don't worry if your feet don't touch the ground. You're trying to get your heels as close as you can, but bend those knees as much as you can, or as much as you need to. You don't have to do it straight. So what I mean, tuck tailbone looks like this, where I have like a hollow area in my body, and I want to keep it untucked. Lengthening my torso, lengthening my spine, so I have a nice straight line from my wrists all the way to my tailbone. I'm pushing the ground away, lengthening that back like I did in the very beginning when we were warming up. Breathe. Feel free to just bring your knees alternate, coming in towards your chest. Help loosen up those calves, those hamstrings. Breathe back and forth. Your ears should be between your shoulder blades. Let's take our left leg, send it straight back. You're gonna bring it in towards that left hand. You can either stay on your toes here or you can drop your knee, whichever one. This is the more gentle version. I'm actually gonna stay on my knee today just because I'm feeling my body's a little tired. So I'm gonna be on my knee, but you can do it on your toes. You're gonna open up towards your left knee, look up towards your hand. This is what it looks like on your toes. This is what it'll be on your knees. Breathe. The beauty of doing it on your knees is you can push this knee out away from your body. It deepens the stretch a little bit. A little bit harder to do if your toes are up and raised. Breathe. Let's come down. We're going to switch to the other side. I'm going to use this arm really close to this leg. So as I open, this arm is actually going to press against this leg and make sure that it doesn't fall in. I'm going to open up towards the other side. Again, what it looks like on my toes is here. Knees is here. Breathe. Bring it down. Send it back into down dog. We're taking our right leg now. Send it straight back. Breathe. Bring it in towards that right hand, either on your knees or toes, rotating up and open. Good. Switching sides. Rotating up. Again, I'm using this arm to brace that leg so it can't fall in. Breathe and down. Send it back. Now we're going to be a little active with it. So we're going to take our left leg and we're bringing it to our left hand, and then we're going to go back. So left leg comes up, comes in towards our left hand. Come back, left leg up, and back. Just a few more. 3. Breathe back. 2. Back. And 1. And back. Now to our right side. Right comes up. Right comes down. Send it back. Lift it up. Send it back. Up. Back. Up. Good. 3 more. 3. Back. 2. 1 more. And back. Go ahead. Drop to your knees. You're going to sit back on your heels if you can, or find whatever comfortable position you can while seated. I want you to close your eyes. Breathe in deeply. Try to breathe into your belly. Exhale out from that belly. Fill it with air. And draw all the air out. Lengthening that spine. one more deep breath. Go ahead and open up your eyes. This next one is going to be similar to that seated side stretch I was talking about, how we were going to do a different version of it. This is called gate, it's a gate series. One is open gate, one is called closed gate. The first one we're going to be doing is open gate. You're going to take your right leg, knee is on the ground. Now you will be on your knee for a while, so if you don't have a thicker mat, you might want to like double roll it up since this knee is going to be on the ground for quite a while. Left leg is straight. Can't quite see my foot. I have my foot flat, but you can also have your foot lifted with toes up. It's really just what feels comfortable for you. Right arm is going to come down. If you can't reach the ground comfortably, get a stack of books, and you can put your hand on a stack of books so you don't have to go as deep. Left arm comes up. Remember how we were saying grabbing, like someone's grabbing their arm? Same thing here. Full stretch. I'm pushing this hip up towards the wall. I'm almost crunching my obliques. Breathe. Use your obliques on this side now to lift you up as far as you can. You can give yourself a little push if you need to. Left hand, now this side, if it again feels tight, then what you can do instead is rest your elbow on the meaty part of your leg, never your knee joint, but on your quad, and you can reach across the other way. If you feel comfortable enough to go all the way down to the ground, this is what the full pose looks like. This is called closed gate. Kind of makes sense. This one looks closed, the other one looks open. Breathe. Now don't drop your chest forward. Everything should be in a nice line, nice and open. This shoulder is not rolling forward. Lift up, use those obliques, come back down. Other side open. Deep breathing in and out. Lift up, use those obliques. This is also one of my favorite movements to do for an ab exercise. It's a little bit different, but it has similar motions to it, except it brings your leg crunching into the side. Come to my athletic yoga class and we'll do that one. Maybe this Saturday we'll do it. Come back down, up, full stretch. This is our last one on this side. One of the best stretches. I love this pose. Come on up. Breathe, stretch to stretch. Good, and up. All right, let's switch it around. So this leg is gonna come down now. Right leg is gonna extend. So I'm, again, coming down all the way, stretching out that arm. Now this side will probably feel a little bit better when you start because you've already stretched it since we do both sides in that first series. Breathe. Use those obliques. Come back down. Remember, you can rest that elbow on your quad if you need to. Full stretch. Breathe. Don't let that shoulder drop. All right, we're nice and open. Chest is lifted. Come down to the other side. Breathe. Good. Up. Down. Feel like if I don't know how to dance, I can just throw out this series of poses and it looks like some interpretive dance. So when in doubt, guys, just break out the gate series pose and it'll look like you know some cool dance moves, right? Some interpretive dance moves. Reaching, breathing. Last one on the inside. Good, keeping that chest nice and open. And all the way up. Ooh, my torso feels so nice and stretched out. All right, now we're gonna be doing all fours again. Now this one is gonna be, it's called bird dog. We're gonna be extending opposite leg, opposite arm as we do this. Now, something that I see a lot of, and it's easy to do, is that this all comes back to tucking and untucking your tailbone, but you need to keep your tailbone tucked during this exercise. So you don't want a curve in your back as you're doing this. You don't want to stick out like this. because all the pressure is going to go into my low back. So I want to create tension in my core, so I need to keep my tailbone tucked under, right? Like I'm a dog that's afraid. So my tailbone is tucked. I'm going to take my right leg, send it out, and my left arm is going to extend as well. Now you can notice my back is a lot more secure than it is here if it were, it looks maybe, makes your booty look nicer, right? If your back is curved, but we're not about that. We're about proper form. So you're extending, hold, breathe, bring it down, left leg out. Remember, keep that tailbone tucked. Lengthen that spine. Your core should be working. You should feel your core working and not your low back working. If you feel like your low back is holding the weight of your torso, then you need to tuck your tailbone more. Breathe and bring it back. Let's do it 2 more times on each side. Extend, keeping that tailbone tucked. Breathe. Bring it down. Switch to the other side. Tailbone tucked. Core is nice and engaged. Good, hand comes down. Last time on this side. Tail tucked. Lengthen. Good, bring it down. Other side. Nice, slow and steady breathing. And relax. Now you're going to take the same idea that we just did. Leg extended out. This time your arms are not going to be involved at all in terms of reaching. You're going to be going back kind of like in a child's pose. So we're going to come from here. Leg is going to extend, and notice I'm crossing it over. You see how I'm crossing it over this leg, so now my foot is on this side. And as I do that, I'm going to come into, let me scoot forward a little bit. I'm going to come into what would be like a child's pose. So this is kind of like an active pigeon. Then we're going to come back. Leg's going to come in. Leg's going to lift up, cross over, and then come forward. Okay, lift it up. This doesn't matter which leg you start with. I'm just starting with my right leg lifting and crossing over my left. You should feel this in your hips. You might feel this in your hamstrings and in your glutes, just depending on where you are the tightest. Breathe. Here you don't have to also be as mindful of what your tailbone is doing because we're moving in and out of the pose. Breathe. One more on this side. And switching legs. Moving over to my left leg, going over my right. Back and forth. This has become one of my favorite ways to do pigeon. Something about it just feels better than holding pigeon for a long period of time. At least it does for me. Breathe. Two more. Good. Bring both your legs together. You're going to come all the way down to the mat now, right onto your chest. Now we're going to be doing up dog. Come up. Breathe, sink. Try to relax your muscles. Let your hips sink into the ground. You're going to come up, and then you're going to push back into child's pose. You're going to hold child's pose for a couple of breaths, and then we're going to come back again into the same thing with up dog. So holding here, inhaling and exhaling. On that exhale, go ahead, come all the way up. stretch out. Now, of course, you don't have to have your legs on the ground for up dog. But since this is a little bit more of a gentle class, I decided to keep my legs on the ground instead of lifting onto my toes, because that's just a little bit harder. And I wanted it to be a little more gentle. Come back into child's pose. Deep breathing. And one more inhale. Exhale, come forward. Into up dog. Down. Last one. We're holding child pose here. Breathe. Take two more nice deep inhales. On this exhale, roll forward. You're going to come into a down dog, and then you're going to walk your hands to your feet. So let's hold down dog for just a second, making sure our tailbone is untucked as we go into down dog. Nice deep breath. Exhale, walk your hands to your feet. Come all the way up. Now we're going to do a reclined hamstring stretch in a second. And if you do have really tight hamstrings, I'm going to show you how you can use, if you have a yoga strap, if you have a towel, if you have a tie or a belt, anything to extend your arms, you might want to go grab it. We're not going to use it quite yet, but I will show you how to use anything, literally anything that will extend your arms. Belt, tie, doesn't matter, anything you have on hand. But first, before we do that, I want to stretch our hamstrings out a little bit as we stand up. So, I want you to stand tall, lengthen that spine up towards the ceiling. Notice what your hips are doing. This is more tailbone is tucked. Untucked is me sticking my hips way out. Now, when we fold, you actually want to stick your hips out. If you have your tailbone tucked like this, you literally cannot fold from your torso or your hips. Your upper body is only folding. So we want our hips to be untucked. Imagine there is like a slingshot band around your torso, right where you feel those knobs on your hips, and it's like slingshotting you back, right? So if you imagine that force pulling you back suddenly, your hips would slingshot. So as you come forward, you're not coming down this way, your hips are slingshotting back. You're hinging forward and you're going as far as you can. Put your hands right above your knees. Don't lock them out. They can have a nice soft bend in them. Hands right above your knees, not on them. It looks like mine are, but they're right above the knee. Breathe. Exhale, hinge from those hips. Come further down. Inhale up to neutral. So your neutral might look different than my neutral. My hamstrings aren't the most flexible, so I actually can't go super deep. I can touch the ground okay, but I can't like double over. So for neutral, for some of y'all, you can probably go deeper than me, or you might not go as deep as me. It's all individual. Exhale down, hinging from your hips. Once you feel like you're stretching here and it's your low back taking over, take it back a notch because you're probably stretching your low back a little too much. Come up, inhale, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Try to go a little bit deeper every time. Up, down. One more. Up, and all the way up. All right, we're going to come onto the floor, onto our backs. Breathe. We're going to do a few little glute bridges before we get into our hamstring because the glutes tie right into our hamstrings. So we want to make sure that they're nice and warmed up and feeling good before we stretch out our hamstrings even more. So from here, you're going to be on the ground, feet are hip width apart. Go ahead, squeeze your glutes, come up to about a nice straight line, and then I want you to squeeze your glutes towards the ceiling. Hold it here. Breathe. You can hold your hands underneath if you would like. You can hold your low back if you would like, but make sure your glutes are driving you towards the ceiling. Come down, inhale, exhale up, squeeze those glutes towards the ceiling. Breathe, down and up, squeeze those glutes. One more after this. And up. Go ahead and come all the way down to the ground. Now this next one, if you again have those tight hamstrings and you're going to want to have some kind of strap or tie, towel, belt, anything that you can throw around your foot. It is not necessary, it's just if you have really tight hamstrings. Your goal while we do these stretches is to keep your shoulders on the ground almost at all times. I say almost because you're obviously going to have to take them off to reach your foot. Otherwise, once you grab that foot, if you can reach it, then you're going to keep your shoulder blades on the ground. A couple of things, if you don't have some props or a strap or belt, anything that if you don't have it, you can grab behind your knee, or if it just feels more comfortable, grab behind your knee than worrying about throwing something over your foot. If you can, you could come up and hook onto your toe and drive this foot towards you. Usually I like to grab like the top part of my heel and then I'll come back. But if my hamstrings are feeling a little tight, I'm totally cool with using a strap because it usually just feels a little more comfortable. And a hamstring is not something that you want to super overstretch, right? You don't want to overdo it when stretching your hamstrings. So if you have a towel or a belt, anything like that, you can just loop it around your foot like this. And even if I can reach it, I can still put this right here, but this is going to be comfortable, more comfortable for my hands. So I'm going to actually keep mine a little bit lower. I'm going to put it on my foot, and again, you can hold that knee. And I'm going to draw this towards me as much as I can. Don't worry about having it super close to your face. That's actually not healthy for your hamstring. It's not meant to go that far. Healthy range of motion, it is okay if it is here. That is good. Even if it's here, that's still pretty good. Breathe. If it's long enough, like mine is, I get to relax my shoulders and my hands, and I can just grab that very ends of it. I'm a big fan of props if you have them or have something similar. Breathe. Go ahead and relax that leg. Going over to the other side. Again, here you can grab behind that knee. Breathe. Drawing that leg in. Don't worry either about those toes pointing towards you. That's going to really stretch out the nerve of your leg, and so that's why it usually doesn't feel very good. So don't worry about those toes rolling towards you. They can stay pretty neutral. Bring it in, closer to you. Breathe. Good, keep holding. And relax. Toss that off to the side because we no longer need it. You're going to take your right leg now. You can do this one of two ways. You can have your legs stay bent, or if you feel like having it fully stretched out, you can. You're going to rotate your hips. Shoulders will stay on the ground. Rotate your hips, so twisting from your torso. Leg can come out straight, or leg can come out bent. Usually I like to do it bent. It feels more comfortable. Now if you feel like your leg is hovering, grab a pillow or grab a stack of books and you can put it underneath this knee to help support it. If it doesn't feel that comfortable, or if it's just too far away from the ground. Right now, I would even use a pillow underneath mine, so I just don't have one handy right by me, but I would normally put it underneath this knee to give it a little extra support. Shoulder blades are on the ground. Arms can come out like a cactus, or they can come out like a T. I don't usually, like for this one, I don't say put it on your stomach because we have the tendency to roll if we do that. So you want your both shoulder blades on the ground. That arm position is the best way to do that. Breathe. Trying to get your body to relax. and then we're going to rotate to the other side. And that's a 2-second inhale, 4-second exhale. On the exhale, rotate back to the middle. Straighten out now your right leg, left leg is going to come over. Again, if you did straight on the other side, go ahead and do straight on this side as well, but since I did bent, I'm going to make sure my knee is bent on this side too. Both shoulder blades on the ground. You might find that one side gets closer to the ground or one side hovers a little bit more, that's okay. Maybe this side needs a pillow and the other side didn't, or vice versa. That is okay, it's normal. Deep breathing. Always with that 2-second inhale, 4-second exhale. Good, breathe. One more inhale. Exhale. Let's rotate those hips back to the middle. You're going to bring your feet together and let your hips just drop apart, your knees drop apart. This is 1-2, where if you wanted to have like a stack of pillows and let them rest underneath the knees, that is really nice and comforting. Especially if you have tight hips, it'll feel good to have that support. Here, your hands can rest on your stomach, or you can again do the cactus or T arms. It's just up to you. You will get more of a stretch in your upper body if you keep your arms out like a cactus. All you're doing here, same ratio of breathing, 2-second inhale, 4-second exhale. Now, while we're in this position, I'm going to try and do belly breathing. So I'm breathing into my stomach, exhaling out. Breathe. Now, something that's very interesting, your pelvic floor is so tight into your abdomen. Your pelvic floor is what holds all your organs in from just dropping out of your body. So a good thing to try and do in any of these positions when you're doing belly breathing is as you inhale, you're relaxing that pelvic floor, and as you exhale and draw all that air out, you're pulling everything in. So you're pulling that pelvic floor in and you're emptying out that stomach. So you're almost activating that core. So that's a really good way to also add in with belly breathing. If you don't know about the pelvic floor, I definitely recommend that you go and do a little bit of research. It has so much to do with having all over healthy body, and it's really important. This is a good technique to start with. Relax as you inhale, tighten as you exhale. It takes a little coordination, and let's face it, I'm not the most coordinated person, so it's taken me quite a bit of time to make the connection and actually feel it. It's a mind-muscle connection, and it's a lot harder than it looks. One more deep inhale and exhale. Let's bring these knees up and together. You're going to hug them into your chest or into your stomach, grabbing on shoulder blades on the ground. You're going to just do small circles. You're going to do about 5 clockwise and counterclockwise. Doesn't matter which one you start with. You could do more than 5 too, so if it's feeling nice, you could do a couple more. Why not? Breathe. Nice little rotations. Doing just a few more. Go ahead, put those feet on the ground. Knees fall in towards one another. Hands are resting on my stomach. I can do belly breathing or I can do chest breathing now, whatever you feel more comfortable with. Take 5 deep breaths, and then we are all done.